Welcome to week 14 of our garden tours. Been a minute since I've been out here to hang out with you guys. Life just got crazy the last 2 weeks. Also, the garden is kind of taking its slow time of growing with what I direct sowed a few weeks ago. And it needs a lot of loving right now. It's pretty messy. I did just take a quick look, and I'm kind of coming to terms with we may not have the crazy awesome fall garden like I was hoping for. If you follow along with me on Instagram, I've kind of kept up to date everybody on there about starting my seedlings, and my seedlings just would not do their thing in time. I got seeds from a company that I'm pretty sure now I will not be going back to because they just did not germinate. Like, the majority of the entire pack just wouldn't grow, so I just kept trying over and over again to get those seeds to germinate. And then I made all that investment for nothing. So I finally had to go buy more seeds from another company. Those did much better, but then I made the mistake of leaving my seedlings outside, and they all got drowned in a rain that we had. So I will be investing in grow lights for indoor for sure next year, but I just could never get my seedlings going. So then I was very late just direct sowing stuff into the ground. Not ideal with how late I had gotten to direct sowing them. So it just doesn't look like a whole lot took. We do have some stuff growing, but when we're doing our garden tours this fall, it may be pretty simple, and I'll have to share some other things with you besides just the garden. But that is just gardening life. It teaches you every season. I am still such a newbie gardener. I've only been doing this. This is my second fall season to be growing. Last year's fall crop got wiped out. All my seedlings did really well last fall, but the entire crop after I planted it got wiped out by a little rabbit or something, and they ate everything. So this year I was trying to prepare for that, and I had a different scenario pop up that hurt the growth of my garden, but that is just how it is. I did a post the other day about feeling a little melancholy about, I just had a feeling when coming here to check on my garden that it wasn't going to be doing what I was hoping. We still have a few warmer weeks to where I'm hoping maybe some of them will catch up. But it is what it is. Gardening is such a journey and so much trial and error. But it's just, as we've talked about, my last video was something I didn't think would work with my sweet potatoes, and we got such a huge reward. So it's just so much trying and learning and growing from all of it. So that being said, let's get started with some harvesting today, because we do have a little bit to harvest, and I'll show you what we've got going. So one thing that is definitely doing well in the garden are all of the peas that I planted. Finally got out here and staked them up, and now in the week since I've staked them up, they're really taking off, and I'm starting to see a lot of little blooms on them. So hopefully we'll have a really good pea harvest. Okay, so I have to somehow figure out how to get in here and harvest all these radishes that are finally growing. Radishes take like 20 something days to grow. I planted these like 2 months ago, and they're just now growing. So I don't know what happened, but they took their sweet dang time. But all the flowers are like dying right here, and I just didn't really think about the peas on the other side. So it's a little tight, but we're gonna make it work. There's an actual decent sized one. Oh my gosh. Oh, these are doing better. Okay. This is a decent harvest for 1 week's worth of food out of all of the radishes that I planted. But what I expected for ones that just struggled, if you remember, most of these were really tiny, really small. So I'll show you, like, these were all planted at the same time. So normal, just like round bulbed radish, and then like the same time. So and all the bigger ones were like on this far side, so that doesn't make sense. So I planted like the normal round ones and then the like French fingerling style. So same issue for the French fingerlings. Like some came out looking like this is a really well uniform one, and then the others were like little round bulbs. So just funny, like what you plant and what you get. I'm going to resow some today. I was gonna say I may resow them in a different area, but the soil is just well worked right here and gives them more space to kind of root out. So I'll probably keep them here, but yeah, okay, not too bad. I'll take what I can get at this point with how the fall garden has been going. Surprisingly, my peppers are still kicking, and I've had a few other accounts I follow talk about how their peppers are still hanging on really well, and actually doing better. So in this colder weather, we actually had our one and only bell pepper grow. So just what a weird season, guys. I absolutely love this candy cane pepper plant. They're all just really sweet peppers, but it is just so beautiful. Like look at that leaf. Like it's just a variegated plant, and so the peppers are stripy, and I just can't get over how beautiful this is. So my chilies are still doing really well. I've missed harvesting some of them, so some are dying on them. And then my bell pepper over there is on its little side because the one bell pepper that grew on the very top. Wow, decent, guys. That's a really nice sized bell pepper, and it, you know, normally by the time they get this big, they've been eaten into, or I don't know, I've just never gotten one this nice. Way to go. So with my chilies, I've just been doing, I think, the like old traditional way of just tying them up and hanging them in my kitchen to let them dry out, and it is so pretty. Like I don't want to ever do it another way because it just makes your kitchen look so nice, and it just brings like that old Italian feel to it. I don't know, I just love it. So if you want to grow them just to do that, I highly recommend it. I'm just amazed with this one cherry tomato plant. They jokingly put it on here just to keep it up. Jokingly put it on here just to keep it up. And guys, it's literally grown almost all the way over. I can't. I don't understand. Like, it's still putting off blooms and new growth. Man, I can't get over it. Like, I can't give it justice. This is one plant that is completely grown over, and it's given off like so many shoots. Not the right word. It's just crazy. So they're really small cherries, and I like that. But I'm just not like a huge cherry tomato eater. I like bigger tomatoes. So for how prolific this was, it was almost too much. So I would never plant more than one plant. Never. I would only plant one plant if I were to do this again, which I probably will do another plant next year. But wow, if you want a lot of little cherries and a really high producing plant, this is the way to go. And I'll have to figure out what it's called because I don't remember. Those little cabbages we planted are trying to make a comeback. So, or these were cauliflower. Yeah, these were cauliflower. But there's the one and there's the other, which might not make it back, but we'll see. You know, this looks better than it did a few weeks ago, so they're pretty resilient. I think out of all those carrot seeds we planted, we have 3 carrot plants growing. So, way to go. But okay, well, there's 2 right there. Or is that 3? That's 3. So those will be probably pretty small. I should probably thin that out, but I'll just let and see what happens, because one will probably beat the other 2, which will probably be this one. But lots of learning. Got to do better. I know a lot of people have a hard time growing carrots. Does anyone else just have those certain things they've always struggled to grow? Like, I've just never been able to grow carrots, and I try to grow them in every season because you can, like early spring and then in the fall. So like, I've tried I think 4 times now to grow carrots, and I never do a good job. So I don't know if it's 1, the seeds I'm getting, 2, this ground should be fine. I know people have an easier time growing carrots in above ground beds because the soil is just so loose, but we've grown for a long time in this garden, so the soil should be well worked. So next year I may grow carrots where we grew the sweet potatoes, because that soil is for sure well worked, and maybe they'll do better, because I just want some dang carrots. Just want some. Okay, over in this bed is where I did a lot of direct sowing. So you can see we have our peas kind of growing in the front. I grew some dragon tongue beans, and they did really well, guys. The ones that I grew in the summer did not do good, so these definitely did better with the cooler heat, but I grew them specifically just for saving the seeds. So we'll harvest those today because all the plants are drying up, and we'll harvest them because the seeds are probably as big as they'll get. Okay, so all the creatures are getting out here and chowing down on this plant now, but see, these pods are way bigger than what you would normally let them get to for eating wise. Seed saving wise, they're the perfect size they need to be. And I'll give you guys a closer up view, but I'm so happy. I only had 2 seeds left, 2 from this packet. So I'm so happy that the 2 plants I planted did well and gave me so much back in return. I just knew they weren't gonna grow enough on them for us to like eat off well. So I thought it's better just to save the seeds from the entire plant and have a much bigger harvest next year. So that is what we did. Show you. See, huge huge pods. But I would have preferred for them to dry out on the plants, but they were starting to fall off, which to me is a sign that they're done. And also these plants are really getting eaten up on. So I'm gonna let them dry inside so that I can make sure I get to keep the beans. But isn't this just the most beautiful, like, look at that. It's so pretty. It just looks like it's painted on here. So I want to make sure I could save the seeds. So I'll take them all inside and we have a nice, decent little size tray. Okay, so problem number 2 with this bed that I direct sowed in. I don't remember what I put where. Rookie mistake. So some stuff I can tell by what is growing. Some stuff didn't grow at all. And there's a lot of weeds. So I'm going to show you what we have that's growing so far. It's really not a lot. Peas are mostly doing their thing over here. But yeah, let's take a look-see. So in this row, I know I planted some spinach, but there only looks to be about 4 plants popping up. So we've got one like right here. It's doing its little thing. Not still so small. And then we have a few more down here doing their little thing. So they're just really tiny, and I hope with a first frost that they'll do okay, but they're just very small. So I don't know how well they're gonna keep up. And then we have one more right there. So in this row, we planted some beets. Again, everything is just very small, not a lot popped up. And I know you can kind of see over there, I think that's some Swiss chard. Okay, so I'm not gonna keep taking you through. I'm kind of showing you the 1 or 2 things we may or may not have growing. Because it's just all over the place. So my seeds just really didn't germinate well. Probably wasn't keeping up with them as good as I should have, making sure they stayed watered. But we'll really just see. That's what I meant at the beginning of this video. It's a little sad and a little melancholy because that's where I'd planted a lot of our stuff we were gonna have. But it is what it is. So we'll see how they do and if anything turns out, and we'll have something growing, because I'll take what I can get at this point. I really have to duck down here to get into this. Last thing on today's chores is I'm going to direct sow these another 2 rows of radishes. I'm just gonna do the fingerlings this time because I think they did better than the traditional round ones. And hopefully they grow a little better. So I still have a few in here that we're trying to grow that are just doing nothing. So I'll just go through and pull those up and we can use the greens from them. Okay, I think that's it for the garden tour. Let's just remember how normally by this point in the summer it was dripping in sweat, and I still feel so great. I love the fall and I love fall gardening, even when it's hard and frustrating. So I hope we have some stuff that keeps growing so we all can keep hanging out in the garden together this fall and through some of the, early winter.